Hello everybody, the UFC Wildcat here, and I'm bringing you a video today talking about the set 5 cards. I'm wanting to go through each style and then, tell you the cards I really like, that I really enjoy, tell you how I see some of them working, and then finish it up. I'll have a top 5 cards that are not named or personalities. I hope to do the personalities and the name cards on another video, hopefully later this week. So this video is just going to focus on those styled and then a little bit of the freestyle cards. So let's get started. I got the cards right over here, so when I glance over this way, it's just me making sure I've got the cards. First, we'll start off with Black Nightmare. This card is really, really good. You get to search your opponent's life deck and get rid of a setup or drill. And then you also gain stages, and it shuffles into your deck. It also does have an endurance, so I mean, having that in the deck is also really, really good. Endurance is something that's, been really, really strong in the game. There are cards like Dig and other cards that make it so you can't use endurance, can't prevent. But it's still very, very good for the decks that don't run those cards. But basically going out and tutoring a card, it's kind of like the synergy of black searching technique to go and get rid of a card. You don't have to name a card, you just get to look. So even if they don't have a card, you get a peek at their deck and see what they've got. So I actually really, really like this card. I think it could be a really, really MVP card, especially Black Roshi, which I've heard a lot of good talk about, and I definitely see why after, talking and looking through it a bit. Next card I've got that I really like is Black Energy Bubble. This is a, a 1 costing energy that, potentially could be a 2-for-1 against your opponent. If you get enough buffs, they want to stop this. They can't have an energy that could potentially be for 6 if you're an Android deck coming across their face. So they're going to want to stop it. But if they do, it's a 2-for-1. They have to discard a card from their hand. I don't know how much play it will get, but I definitely see if you're a deck that runs a good amount of mods on your attacks, that this card could definitely find a place in your deck. And with that, it's cost 1 stage, it gains you an anger. I really, really like the versatility of this card, and it could get better with more and more buffs. Move on to the next card. We got Black Confident Shot. I want to say Burst, but it's Black Confident Shot. Energy attack, it costs 2. Damage from the attack cannot be redirected, so you can't shoot it to an ally, and then damage modifiers are doubled on the attack. It does 2 and 2, so with Black Devious Mastery, it's 4 and 4. And if your opponent's MP is at 0, you may search your life deck for a named attack and place it in your hand. So crazy hand advantage. It gets really, really strong with modifiers. Think about, I really think like a Black 20 deck with a lot of, modifiers on the board could be, kind of like an underachieving, mystery deck, I would say. Kind of laying under the radar. Roshi with all his setups and drills can find a way to, get a lot of value out of these cards, especially putting the setups and drills into play, that especially the modifier ones could really get some good use. Plus, if they're at 0, you get to search your life deck for a backstrike? Yeah, because it's a name attack. You get to search for a backstrike and get to throw that into play. That's actually really, really, really good. Moving on to the next card, we got Black Double Team, Choke Light, as some people in our playtesting group like to call it. Basically, if they have no cards in their hand, it's choke. Unpreventable, and the damages are unpreventable, and then obviously they can't stop because they got nothing in hand. They could, if they have drills on the field to stop attack or like setups to stop it, that could potentially work, but I just see this card being in a lot of decks, especially those aggro decks and cards that are decks that like to have big hand advantage. This card is just really, really good. Alrighty, next card I got, we're moving on to Blue Style, and the more and more cards that come out, the more and more I think Blue Style is just kind of all over the place. It's trying to do way too much, and talking with one of my buddies who's a big Blue Style player, he kind of feels the same way, that's going really combo-centric. So they need to find a way to focus Blue into something. Blue is doing a lot of, I want to do allies, but I also want to do, raising anger manipulation. It's not really focused into something, and especially with the really, really bad Blue Tag Team Mastery, it's okay, but, there are a lot of times that it can just virtually be doing nothing, and there's a lot of other masteries you would rather have, especially Blue Protective, which is a really, really good mastery. So when we move on to the cards that I have, I only have 2 that I really liked in Blue Style. The first one is Blue Dispersing Beam. It's energy attack for 2. You can raise or lower your opponent's anger, and it does 5 life cards. And then hit, you can raise or lower your opponent, or any player's anger too. And if your opponent advanced with this card, you can banish all allies or all drills in play. It's okay. It's not great. Board clears are really, really good, so I do like those, but, you know, allies I don't think are going to be very, very prevalent. The drills I kind of like, but what really stops this is an orange focusing drill, because you just banished orange focusing drill, so, you know, it's kind of meh, hit or miss. I don't know about the card. It's okay, but it's one of the better cards in blue, which shows you how little blue got. We go on to the next one. We got Blue Head Charge, and I love this. Anything with Krillin looking badass. And he's hitting Cell in the stomach in this picture. So Krillin's looking super cool in this one. Basically, you get the Blue Awakening Drill effect to destroy a setup and place another styled setup from your discard pile, though, not your life deck, into play. So, you know, a lot of decks are really, really liking the blue key buildup, you know, re-rolling that card as much as possible. So this is a definitely viable way to do that. Does 5 stages, and if your opponent has used any modifiers to modify the damage of this attack, you draw a card. So, unfortunately, I asked about it because, you know, you got to be sure, but I was pretty confident that it was going to be ruled that way. If they modify life cards, but it doesn't do life cards, it doesn't work. So if you have Blue Lifting Drill and it does +1 and they have a life card modifier, you would get to draw a card if it hits. So it's kind of a cool effect. It's just, you know, Ball 6 is the one thing that I see out there that a lot of people run that could really, really help this card. So we'll see. I do like the card. It's probably the best blue card that's out there in this set, but again, that's not saying too much. We go on now to Namekian style, and this is another style that I don't think got too much, but they did get some pretty cool cards. Namekian looks to be super combo-centric and want to have these long combats and drawn out, be able to have massive hands and, you know, ball bouncing and all these crazy things. So right now, looking at it, Namekian Focus Ball is the one I got for you first. It's an energy for 2. You can look at the top or bottom card, or look at the top card of your life deck and place it at the top or bottom, and then does 2 life cards. And then hit, you can draw the top or bottom. So again, another card, you know, it does weak damage, but, you know, with that draw effect, you may have to block it. So I really do like the card. I like Namekian being able to try and have these long combats of drawing cards using crazy amounts of actions. Going on to the next one, another card that does this. We got Orange Hand Burst. Energy attack, it does cost 3, but it can only be stopped by energy combat cards. It does 5 life cards and hit, draw the bottom card of your life deck. And if you've been manipulating, which you can do with the rejuvenation that Namekian does have, you can easily get a really, really good card and kind of combo into another card. So really do like Hand Burst, especially if you're going more energy-based. But I see Cell being more physical-based, so we'll see. We got Namekian Preparation. This is a card that, you know, I looked over, but then I looked back and I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool effect. Use when you perform a physical attack. You use a crit effect, and then you can return a Dragon Ball in play. So you may return a Dragon Ball in play. So anywhere, if your opponent has a ball that's yours and you want it back, you bounce it back to your hand. Or you can bounce one of yours to reuse the effect if you want to later. And then if you do, cancel the immediate effects of all blocks this combat. So that's actually really cool because it does get through time. Time's used. You use this, it cancels the effects. You know, those aren't used anymore. Or that's how I would assume. It may not be that way. But again, you do get that elimination effect for the rest of the combat. So I do really, really like that. It's a card that I definitely would look at, especially if you're trying to be an aggro, again, with all these massive attacking hands. And then the final one I got for Namekian Resilience. Your style attacks do extra 2 stages, and then banish all styled cards from both players' discard piles. I love this card because there's so many non-styled cards that people are going to be relying on. This is just a huge, huge card to get rid of all of those and just kind of even the playing field. Namekian does rely on a few of those non-styled cards, but I would say that a lot of their great cards are styled. Namekian Hybrid Defense, you got Onslaught, which is a card that gets run a lot. You got Cross Guard, which is the new cool block, the Rejuve thing that gets a drill out, Heritage Drill, and the other one is Namekian Assistance Drill. So there's a lot of good cards that you can run with these, with this, you know, because you won't worry about your freestyle cards too much. But again, you get rid of all of theirs, and some decks super rely on their cards. Yamcha's one I'm thinking of, Krillin a little bit, so. Moving on now, we got Orange style. Orange is in the middle. There's a lot of cards I like, but a lot of cards that are like, that's Adept, that's Adept, that's Adept, and a few cards that I like in Adaptive. So we start off with Orange Fixation, you know, search your life deck for a non-style drill, place into play. The Endurance 3 is the one that I really, really like. So you get a Searcher, and you get 3 Endurance. It's a pretty good card. There are some really good non-style drills, especially with the sword cards coming out. you know, this may be one that you have to put in the sword deck just to be reliably get your non-style drills out. On to the next one. This is one that I did consider in my Orange 18 deck, which is one I'm probably going to run out of the chute for set 5. Physical attack, you lower their anger, you can destroy 2 of your drills to have this attack be unstoppable and unpreventable. And it is AT plus 3 life cards. That's pretty insane. So if you use, you know, your drills, you got like a possession drill, for example, or you got like a hiding drill and they aren't doing anything else, you can blow those up. And then you can use this, and if you're stronger than them, it's going to crit, especially if you have modifiers. So you'll get one of those 2 drills that you destroyed back into play at the end of combat with Adaptive. I love this card. It's definitely on a fringe card for me with 18. I could definitely see it in, but as of right now, it is out. I run more energies than physicals, so it's kind of hard to, you know, mix the two. Because again, if you don't run enough physicals, you just find a way to make their physical blocks, which I think are a lot better than energy blocks, have some value. Move on, Orange Dressing Room. Again, this is an Adept card. Attach your MP while attached. Your style attacks deal +1 damage and gain lower your opponent's anger, which is something Orange struggles with, is anger. And then banishes when you control 4 or more drills. With Adept, you never really get to more than 4 drills, so this is always going to be attached unless your opponent finds a way to get rid of it. And it doesn't say you can't have more than 1 attached. It's pretty good, especially, you know, with the attaching cards. It sucks that it's a setup, and I don't know many ways to get attached cards onto you. In Orange, there'll have to be some that we'll have to look at, but again, this is a really, really good card for Adept, not Adaptive. Adaptive usually finds a way to at least have 4 drills, so. We move on to Orange Clearing Blast. Damage is all banished. It's basically Crushing Beam, 3 stages, 5 life cards. And then banish all your drills, or banish all drills you control. At the end of combat, choose 3 drills from your banish zone and place them into play. I love this because with 18, I've had a lot of problems where people get rid of attack drills, and I have no way to get it back. You know, I'd have to run 2. With this, I can cut it down to 1 and, you know, get some banish drills back into play, which is very, very useful. Moving on to the next one, we got Orange Stab. Basically, it's a card advantage card. I can banish a drill from my hand to search my life deck for a styled physical with printed hit effect and place it in my hand. So again, it's just more boom, use a card, boom, and get another card in my hand. So again, very, very aggressive cards. Now this one's really, really funny. One of our buddies, Alec Rudin, pointed this out. Orange Hoping Drill with a sword effect. With Goku dying. There's no swords in the card, but it's a sword card. Basically another buff to your attacks, and then whenever you perform a card with sword, you destroy the top card of your opponent's life deck. It's pretty cool. I like it, especially with these sword decks. I think Orange Adept Trunks is going to be the sword deck that's good. I don't know if it's Saiyan because they've got 1 card that's sword, or actually 2 good cards, but I like Orange a lot better. And then Orange Keyball, another way to search out non-style drills. And it does stages, which is really, really good in Adept, because you want to be stage pressuring with them. And if you're Vegeta, you can vice versa that stuff really, really fast. Alrighty, we're moving on to Red. And Red's got some really, really good cards, but there's so many ways to go with Red, so it's hard to decide what's best. We start out with the first card, use the immediate effects of a Dragon Ball in play, and banish after use. Red Bribe. Really, really good card with those Dragon Ball decks that like to have them all out. Piccolo's one that comes to mind, but, you know, just a pretty good versatile card, because you can use opponent's Dragon Balls as well. This is probably one of the best cards that did come out for Red. Red Cannon. It's an Omni block. You know, it has setup drill control, and it also does a decent amount of damage as well. I think this card is really, really good, because, you know, when it came out, we were thinking, you know, wow, there's another Omni block. Raditz is a personality that's going to love this card. 20 will love this card, but there's another card that adds it that makes me think that Red Raditz is a very, very viable deck. We'll get to that later. We got Red Interference. Red Ruthless needs more blocks like this, because a lot of the cards that Red Ruthless uses are really, really cool because it puts a styled card on top, but it's not banished after use, so the card that you just used goes on top, and it, you know, breaks the entire effect that you just tried to do. This card, though, stops it. You can search from your banished zone, so you can get stuff like Red Shattering Leap. You can get some of the later cards that we'll talk about that are banished after use. Put it on top, and then this is banished, then you go right into Red Ruthless Mastery. This is such a really good trap card for Ruthless decks, and I really, really do enjoy this. And we'll go on, because I think this is a really, really good card for Red TN, and you might be saying, where did Red TN come from? It's an anger deck. It still can be, but it can be a gross amount of beats deck. And then we go to a card that I just think is super solid. Physical attack, raise your anger 1, does AT plus 4, 3 endurance. Simple, to the point, very, very good. Very, very generic, but very good. We got Red Tandem Blast. It's a 1 cost energy. You can lower your anger 2 or just lower your MP 1 level. And if you do either of them, your opponent cannot play non-styled cards for this combat. Pretty good with Ruthless because you worry about time. This is basically a time killer, a blinding energy move killer. So I really, really do like this card in terms of those beatdown decks. And I could definitely see it in a deck that loves anger resource. We got Red Right Blast, which is, again, another card that I think is one of the best cards for Red Ruthless TN, and one of the best cards in Red, period. If this attack is performed from your discard pile, you lower your opponent's anger 2. It costs only 1 stage and does 18 life cards plus 4 stages. But the best part of this is the next time a player rejuvenates, so either you or your opponent, you may draw a card. And you may be thinking, oh, Namekian hate, this is fantastic! More hate for Namekian! But the first thing I thought about was Red TN and TN's Preparation. Because TN's Preparation becomes a mill 2, draw 2. So you lose 4 cards in your deck, but you get crazy hand advantage because you just rejuve TN's Preparation. So, I mean, Red TN looks like it's got a lot of good tools, and this is definitely one of them. And of course, like I said, it's banished after you, so with that Red Intervention, just so much trap plays with that card. I love it. We got Red Channel Surfing, which is a card I think Red Raditz and Red 20 will love. Drills in your life deck without endurance, gain endurance 3. Discard a drill from your hand to destroy the top 3 cards of your opponent's life deck. If you discarded a style drill, draw a card. Hand filtering, mill effect, and crazy endurance for your life deck. A lot of pluses for this card. Really, really like this card. Next one we got Red Aerial Assault. Physical attack, the next time you reveal a card from your hand, this combat, you may raise your anger 2 levels. Anger, good, especially with Ruthless, who finds a way to get stuck on level 1 a lot. This is a card that they'll love. And also the Unpreventable Dig effect, but it has to hit. I love this card, especially that way you can kind of cut digs a little bit out. You can run a few, but if you cut digs out of the deck and just stick with this card, again, you have these, or you have less non-styled card, which is a big focus on Ruthless decks. We got Red Powerful Strike. I think this is the last red card that I want to talk about. Another Red TN card that I love, 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 love. If you perform an attack from your discard pile this combat, raise your anger 2 levels. If your MP is a hero, the next styled attack you perform this combat gains raise your anger 1. So again, with Ruthless, you just get anger, which is something it lacks, but TN as an anger personality kind of fills that mold. And when you give him more anger cards like this, he'll find a way to be able to anger up and get to his higher levels, and you could potentially, you know, use the level 3 if you don't have that, you know, final push to get to level 4 and have all these multi-attacks and just have a beat-down combat that they can't handle. We move on to Saiyan, which I think is the style that got the most out of this set. And there's just a lot of cards in this set that I like. I don't know how many of them are great, but I see a lot of them and I'm like, wow, that's really, really good for Saiyan. We start out with Saiyan Emergence. It's not a great card, but it's like, you know, with all those stage locking decks, I really, really do see it working well. So you get a Rejuvenate 1, your opponent loses 4 stages, or opponent's MP loses 4 stages. If he's at 0, you rejuvenate this card. So it potentially could be 2 Anger and Empowered, plus you stage lock him. So, decent card. Decent. We move on to Saiyan Phase Strike, which is probably my favorite. And of course, I've got the foil version of the show. Physical attack, raise your anger 2. This attack, if this attack is stopped, draw a card. Damage AT stages, hit, lower your anger 2 levels. Now, this card is actually really good in both the Saiyan Masteries. In Saiyan Empowered, you can go from 2 to level with this card because of the secondary raise your anger 1. So that's 3 anger off this card. Crazy. And then if it hits, you don't lower your anger. But if they stop it, you draw a card. So, pretty good. I enjoy the card. And then in Rampaging, you know, you have to be at 2 anger as well. It'll level you. The hit effect of the lower anger goes first, then you hit your anger and raise it 1, so you will get virtually 3 anger out of it as well. So I see it working in both masteries really, really well. And this is a card I really, really like because, you know, kind of, you know, the more anger gain cards that we get for Saiyan, the better Saiyan does get. But at the same time, there can't be too many of these printed anger cards. But having a few of them like this, I really, really do enjoy, because it does have that backside that you can't just play it at 1 anger, or else there's going to be a, you know, no anger gain out of that. We move on to Saiyan Flip. This is a, you know, pretty good one. It's considered to have 4 endurance for your card effects, so Mastery will give it a, it'll make it a 5 damage physical. It's stop a physical, but it is also attached card, and while attached, your AT is considered 4. This is great for those weaker personalities, a Raditz, a Nappa, a Turles, you know, to make it so their AT is always going to be 4. They're always going to have that, no matter what. It doesn't say it to be above 1,000,000. It's not one of those cutesy random effects from Evolution where you were considered to be 1,000,000. So this one is just straight 4. It's like that Orange Confidence is the card I'm thinking of. So I really, really do like this card as well, especially for the weaker personalities. We got Saiyan Leaping Strike. It's another effect to get rid of attached cards. So another effect to get rid of Wall Breaker, to banish any attached card on your personality. If you know, like used a Saiyan Rescue this turn, and you're just like, get rid of it. Because if you do, you get to draw a card if it hits. So again, you put that pressure on your opponent to block these weak physical attacks that are just going to get you more and more hand advantage. We got Saiyan Rapid Fire. It's just like a dig or choke effect. Cost of stage, can't be damaged or modified or anything, so you don't really care. There's a lot of personalities that don't have modifications, so I could see this getting run. Hit Raise Your Anger. It could be Raise Your Anger too, potentially. Plus, you know, crit effect. It's another way to get rid of Wall Breaker. Ugh. We get Saiyan Transformation Drill. This one I think is one of the better cards that came out. It's definitely one of my favorites. Basically a drill that says when you advance, you don't lose this card. Rejuvenate 1. And Power, when entering combat, you can banish this drill to return all drills in play to their owner's hands. Kind of a way for Saiyan to deal with this board stuff, because they don't have a lot of board hate. So this is a really good one to just be like, board wipe. Gets past Focusing Drill as well. We got Saiyan Back Crash. It's just a Vegeta effect, which I like. They're finding ways to make Vegeta good, and this is one of them. You can discard a card from your hand to use a critical damage effect, so Vegeta Reveal. And you get a crit effect. So that's pretty good, and it does 5 stages. So, okay card. Okay. We got Saiyan Crunch. Again, another hand advantage, Printed Anger, which is really, really good. And if he passes his last or your opponent passes their last action, can't be stopped. So you auto get this. You can set your anger to 0, banish 10 cards, then choose a styled attack from your discard pile and put in your hand. Hand advantage is good. I love it. We got Saiyan Sword Skill, basically attached to your personality, and all your attacks gain hit. Your opponent skips his next action. And you banish this when you deal critical damage. So it's pretty cool. I do like it. It does have your opponent loses 5 stages if you draw a sword card, but you know, I don't know how much that's going to happen. You do draw a card though. Another Vegeta card. This is like the ultimate Vegeta card. You can discard a card from your hand to draw a card, so Reveal to draw. Really, really good for Vegeta. It does 5 life cards and costs 3. If the attack deals 5 or more stages, draw a card. You may be thinking, unless I'm Trunks level 4, how am I going to deal 5 stages? Well, Vegeta, with his power to flip it to stages, that's really cool. I love this card because, again, it gives Vegeta a little bit. Again, it screams Vegeta, but I really, really think it's a cool card. And, again, like I said, you can use it in Trunks. Just get the Trunks level 4. And then we got the final Saiyan card, the final styled card that I want to talk about. Saiyan Ki Burst. Basically, a really, really strong card. The endurance is considered to be 5 for your card effect, so you discard it at 6 stages. Energy for 2 stages, or costing 2 stages, does 4 life cards. And if your MP is higher than your opponent's MP, non-styled cards cannot be played this combat. That includes you as well, though. Pretty good card. I don't know if I would run it in like the Trunks Swords decks because they rely on a lot of non-styled cards, but there are decks that probably could find a lot of good viability out of this card. So, pretty good. And another time stopper, so anything to stop time with your aggro decks is really good. We're going to finish up. We're on the non-styled cards. This is a long video. I'm glad you've stuck with me through it. And let's finish up with the non-styled cards and a quick top 5 of what I think the 5 best cards of the set are. Got Android Defensive Blast. An energy for 2, does 5, raises your anger 1, and then if it hits, non-styled attacks lose all their immediate effects. I love this in 18 because you toss into this and it's 2 energies for 10 life cards base. Or 9 life cards base. Really, really good. The problem is if it hits, you lose all immediate effects. So you gotta, you know, you've got to play this soon, but at the same time, if you run a lot of non-styled card attacks, this does lose some viability. We got Pesky Barrage, one of these really, really cool effects that, you know, for the weaker personalities are like, hey, you still get some viability. It's heroes only, which is good, and it's considered to be named for your card effects. It costs 2 stages, lower your opponent's anger 1 level. If your highest personality on level 4 is 500,000 or under, so Krillin is involved in that, it stays on the table to be used again, and it does 5 life cards. Pretty strong attack, and again, multi-attack especially, you could find a way to make Krillin a little better. Then we've got another Omni block, but this is only for weaker personalities. So again, we look at Yamcha, we look at Raditz. If your MP's level 4 power level is 500 or less, you may play this to stop a non-styled attack instead of as an attack. But it is an attack that gains 5 stages, lowers an anger, and does 3 life cards. Life card physicals are really, really strong in this set. Then we've got the card that, unfortunately, my last video for Dragon Ball Z was It's Over 9,000. And this is the card that will kill It's Over 9,000. Clash of Wills. Raise both players' anger to 6. Basically raise both players' anger to 6. Banish the top card of your life deck. Basically Aura Clash, but, you know, with a little bit of a drawback. We got Dashing Sword Attack, physical attack, and costs a stage. Your opponent auto loses 2 stages and lowers their anger. And if it hits, search your discard pile for a styled or named card with sword in the tile and place it in your hand. So, hand advantage. Trunks will love this card. Love it a lot. This card, I don't even care about talking about it. Look at that picture. Krillin's hitting Cell in the back of the head. Just don't focus on Cell not giving a shit. Krillin looks like a badass in this picture. Krillin. Next card. We got the best card in the set, I'm going to say. Overwhelming Power. Limits you per deck. This card is considered styled and named for your card effects. If this card is placed in your hand by a card effect, you may use a critical damage effect. If your MP's power level is higher than your opponent's MP's power level, destroy up to 2 setups or drills. Wow. Wow. This card is insane. I'm going to probably have a video talking about how great this card is later. But just the amount of viability of this card. And I will say the only 2 personalities I see getting full value effect in your hand, styled and named. Cell and 18. Really, really good card. Then finally, let's talk about Phil McGrath's Ultra Rare that we've got for this set. Krillin's Power Tap or Power Mimic. Basically, use when needed, banishes at the end of the turn, becomes a drill. Very, very good card. And basically all I have to say about this card is Devouring Drill. With 18, this is auto-win, because of Devouring Drill being gross, I can have a combat where I'm like, Aura Drill ×2 for a turn, and just have massive amounts of damage to be throwing at the opponent, and basically say, do you have a block? So, really, really good card. I do really, really like it. And finally, we've gone through all the cards that I wanted to talk about. Now we're going to go to our top 5 cards of the set. And just go through it really quick. Number 5, Black Double Team. Choke Light. I really, really like this card. And again, it's another unpreventable damage for Krillin. But I don't think Krillin's going to be the best black deck, unfortunately. We got Power Mimic. I just talked about it. Really, really good card. There's a lot of other styles that can get viability, but I'm blinders on Orange 18 with Power Mimic. We've got Pesky Barrage. I really, really like this card for weaker personalities, and it just super strong. It's a named card as well, so if your opponent decides to Defiant Challenge, I can go and search for a Pesky Barrage, and I'm throwing 2 energies at you. Clash of Wills, again, these auto-level cards are going to be so important because there's so much anger hate and so much de-leveling that MPV I don't think is going to be a viable win condition, so this card's going to be fantastic. And then we finally finish off, as I said, the best card in the set, Overwhelming Power. And again, it'll have its own video where I do talk about it, but that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is super long, but this is my major talk about Set 5. The next video will be personalities, and that'll probably be another semi-long video. But I hope you guys do enjoy. Leave a like, rating, and subscribe for more Dragon Ball Z Panini. And hopefully tomorrow you tune in for a special video where we talk about a legendary Super Saiyan from Set 6. There are leaked posters that came out, and I got super excited, talked with a buddy, and we made this. You can see the redacted personalities, but hopefully you'll tune in tomorrow for the reveal of these personalities. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is the UFC Wildcat, signing out.